Welcome back to the Sweaty Pillow podcast with our special guest, Abida Dhukai, nurse practitioner, PhD, Wonder Woman, and all things women's health. Our first part of this important series was hormone replacement therapy, risk factors, research, and my own personal journey, where Abida went through my labs on pre-hormone replacement therapy and just how horrible my health was only in February this year, being closely monitored for several months. I then had blood work midway through. I want to say it was July, and you made some tweaks. But can you share with me and with us and our audience what the treatment protocol was? What did you put me on and why?
So I think we first started you off on progesterone because we needed to get your sleep in check, right? And so I think, if I'm not mistaken, we did 100 milligrams, one tablet right before bed. And I usually tell women, hey, you've got 20 minutes to get into bed because this will lock you out. And so based on where you were in terms of your perimenopause, menopause transition, we tailored your dose to I think we're doing 5 days on, 1 day, 2 days off, if I'm not mistaken. And then we added estrogen because you had symptoms and your blood work panel showed that your estrogen levels were low. And so we added some estrogen, and also because your testosterone was low, and we needed to help improve muscle mass, we added some testosterone. And I think, we started off at a low dose of everything just to see what works best for you. And then I think gradually over the few months, we sort of said, hey, listen, let's switch you and maybe try like the cream just to adjust it and see, you know, uh, if the dose needs to go up, because if you're having ongoing hot flashes and night sweats, then we need to up your dose of estrogen, which is what we did, I think. And then I think you've stayed pretty much on the same dose of testosterone because it's working well for you. And a lot of women think, oh no, you're going to need a lot of testosterone. You actually don't. We need a tiny, tiny dose of testosterone to help. And I usually tell women to take it in the morning because it gives you that boost of energy. Um, and it helps them. Some people are like, wait a second, I'm working out, my muscles are getting stronger and I'm losing weight. And so that's another thing. And I think you were starting to lose weight, which is and now you're back to where you want to be, which is fantastic, right? So once we got all your hormones balanced out, and looking at your repeat blood work, your testosterone levels are exactly where they need to be. They're in the right range. Your progesterone is great. Your estrogen levels come up really nicely, which is fantastic, right? So now we know that you're in that balanced range. And what we're trying to do is put you back into the follicular phase of your cycle and have your hormones levels be in that range, because women feel best at that point.
Oh, so that's interesting. So if I had a uterus, which I don't, but I couldn't actually decide to conceive a child because I'm in that range now. Wouldn't be a good idea. Never mind the strain.
No. And we don't. And so when we put women on bioidentical hormone replacement, we tell them, hey, listen, if you're going to conceive, you need to tell us because we have to get you off this. Some women go into perimenopause in their late 30s and early 40s. And they're like, well, I'm still having all these symptoms, but I really am hopeful to get pregnant again. So we warn them and say, hey, listen, you have to stop this treatment if you decide you want to do this, and then get on vaginal progesterone, see a fertility specialist, just because they're going to need a lot more support for conception. Yeah, because their hormones are off. Yeah.
But you're replicating a scenario where women in their early 40s feel their best, and you're giving them that gift through a very healthy, safe, and life quality enhancing protocol. I mean, why wouldn't every woman do this? This is my aha moment. This is so transformational. What I'm seeing on paper on the pre and post, and
Mhm.
then how I'm feeling, which I want to speak to, and then let's circle back to why the hell on earth every woman on the planet wouldn't do this. There's reasons, of course.
Yeah.
So my blood work looks great on paper, and I'm so glad again that you go through this of actually doing the blood work. It's not a guess on what I might be feeling.
Mhm.
Um, my energy and my mood and my sleep, maybe it's and I've lost weight, and I can definitely tell there's more tone on my body because I have more energy at the gym. I actually have energy to go to the gym. There
Yeah.
was someone asked me, either my son or my partner, like after dinner one day, why don't we go to the gym after dinner? And I'm like, I'd rather stab hot knitting needles in my eyes than go to the gym after dinner because I am exhausted. Like, put me on the couch, give me some ridiculous TV because that's all my brain can handle because it's so much fog. So if I try and watch anything intellectual, my brain will explode. So
Yeah.
it is a completely night and day picture on how I'm feeling, how I'm looking, my energy, how I interact with people. My road rage is virtually gone, but that might be my personality. But it is night and day, Abida. Like, honest to God.
Yeah. Yeah. And so some people say we don't need the blood work because, it's a point in time, right?
Right.
Whereas some people say, maybe do the Dutch test or do a saliva test or do a urine test. So, I get that. Those are actually really, 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 really accurate. But not everybody can afford the six, $700 each
Mhm.
time to do that. But this gives us a point in time, but it also helps us monitor other things besides just the hormones, right? Whereas those tests look for metals and things like that. But if we see that, hey, listen, there's an issue with your hormones, absolutely. I think that's something that we should address first. And I like checking the labs every 6 to 12 months because then I can look at the other markers, right? I can see
Mhm.
indirect ways of figuring out is your body working well? Is Has your cholesterol come down? And yours has come down. It's perfect now. It's fantastic. Is your estrogen, is your iron come up? Yes, it came up 3 times, right? That's great. Your liver markers look excellent. Your sugars even better than they were before, and this is great, right? These are great numbers, and your testosterone's come up, right? And so these are all positive things. And so even though we're not looking at hormones, these are just glimpses at a moment in time. I think they're very telling, looking at
Mhm.
how much of a positive effect this has had, for sure. And
So
yeah, go ahead.
the picture is really good, quantitatively and qualitatively, on how I'm living my life with the same stress factors. Nothing else has changed. I'm The only thing I would say that I've added, because I have so much more energy at the gym, so I want to fuel that, is I'm making sure to get more protein.
Mhm.
So that's the one thing outside of this protocol. But other than that, really nothing has changed. So then back to, why the hell are more doctors, the medical community, and women not jumping on this train as fast as we possibly can?
I think it's because they just haven't been it's not being taught. It's not being taught because it takes an extra amount of time to learn this stuff, right? An extra
Mhm.
amount of training and research, and you need to be really passionate about it. I think it should be. I think women should be offered hormone replacement therapy when they start having symptoms. And I think, instead of throwing in an antidepressant, yes, some women absolutely have depression and absolutely need those medications for sure. But if this is something that just your mood is off, but it doesn't make sense, but it follows a pattern of your periods becoming irregular
Mm.
or gaining weight is one of the first symptoms of perimenopause, right? Of how your body's not metabolizing, and
Yeah.
a lot of people forget that, right? They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, a lot of the women we see say, I've gained 15 pounds a year," and they're like, "I can't understand it." And
Yeah.
so it's like, "Wait a second, it's not," and they're like, "Well, my family doctor doesn't say anything because I'm having regular periods, so they won't give me any treatment." But but if you look at the blood work, it's like, "Wait a second. based on the labs and their symptoms, and the labs are just not hormonal, like you pointed out. We
Mhm,
look at
mhm, mhm.
other factors, right? We look at their cholesterol
Yeah.
levels, we look at their triglycerides, we look at iron levels. And if there's indirect evidence that your body's metabolism is changing, then we need to sort of get and address that, you
Mm,
know. And
mhm.
and I think every woman should be offered HRT who's eligible for it.
Right.
If you don't have risk factors, absolutely you should
Mhm, mhm.
be eligible for it.
What is your sense? Because you're so dialed in. Out of 10 women who are feeling off, they go to an annual physical and they say, I'm not feeling great. How many of those 10 appointments will a doctor introduce the concept of HRT or menopausal symptom and treating symptoms?
Oof. Um, if lucky, 1 out of 10,
Oh my
because
God.
like a lot of women come to us and say, I've gone to my family doctor and say I'm having hot flashes and night sweats, and a lot of family doctors are like, here's an antidepressant for your night sweats, and sucks. This is how life is. Deal with it. Right? And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, how can you even say that?" Right? These women are suffering. But it's not like the stories we hear and the women come to us, um, at Science and Humans because they're like, "We have no other place to go."
Mhm,
And
mhm,
this is really what women are doing is advocating for themselves to get the care they need. And you know what? There's some women who go back to their family doctor and tell them, "Hey, listen, I'm on hormone replacement therapy with this team." And then the family doctor is like, looks and is like, "Wait a second. Yeah, look at your numbers look great." And they say, "What are you doing?" It's like, I'm doing hormone replacement therapy,
mm,
and then sometimes the family doctor opens their eyes and it's like, then they say, "Oh, wait a second, let me look into it and see." And sometimes they take over care and they're like,
mm.
"Okay, we can do this because this is something
Okay.
that we know is safe." Some family doctors say, "Okay, stay with that clinic because I don't know
Mhm, mhm.
how to manage this," which is
Wow.
fine, right? Which is
Yeah.
fine, right? Um, because if you can't manage it, absolutely have the patient be managed by people who know how to deal with this.
You know, it's worthy of us screaming this story from the rooftops because we are kind of up against Mount Everest. And I'm hoping, and we will send as much communication out with our community of women on my personal story, my results, and your links and Science and Humans. You guys are Toronto based, but you do virtual care, which is incredible because this is life-saving work. We're
Mhm.
not only making pajamas. It is the work that you're doing and exposing us to. And I should have known more. I have been serving menopausal women and have a big network of menopausal friends now for years. And I feel if I didn't know more and knew to advocate for myself and to explore this, the average woman who just has this lovely relationship with a longtime family doctor, they're not going to get exposed to a quality of life. It is about the risk factors for sure, but my quality of life is so much better.
Yeah.
Um, so what can women do, Abida? How can women prepare themselves from a much younger age?
I think us as women talking to the generation after us,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think we need to be, "Hey, listen, you know I think growing up the '90s and the 2000s kids were the kids that were, exposed to all the information, and they were very tech savvy, and they knew, they were the new generation who were very aware of their sexual health. But I think we missed a piece. I think we
Yeah.
forgot to tell them, "Hey, listen, yes, sexual health is important, but also extend it out saying, menopause, perimenopause is also part of sexual health." And
Right. Mm.
it impacts things, right? And it impacts libido, it impacts,
Mhm.
body image, it impacts cognitive function, it impacts, you know vaginal dryness, you know, and penetrative intercourse. It really has a big um, influence on how we live the next part of our lives. And I think what we should do is educate young men and women, right? So
Mhm.
we've have some men who come to us and say, "Hey, my wife," who the guys who are on testosterone replacement with us, they say, "My wife is not herself," and they force their wives to come and
Mm,
see us, and they do blood work, and they're like, "Wait a second." Then we balance out their hormones, and they feel great. I think educating the young women and men,
mm.
right, I think is really key. I think we need to get this into medical schools. I think we need to push for that. I think women also need to advocate for themselves, continue to advocate for themselves. If they see a research study that, you know, kind of fits in with them, please participate because that's the
Mhm,
only
mhm,
way we'll get more research and progress in terms of this realm of healthcare. I think as long as people sort of speak out and sort of push the envelope with their family doctors, that the family doctors and their nurse practitioners will
mhm,
sort of
mhm.
say, "Hey, listen, wait a second, yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense. Let me research about it. Let me see." And for those who don't have a primary care provider, you know, there's other opportunities and other ways to sort of seek care if you feel like you're suffering. Like I don't think
That's
people.
actually a great point because 15 years ago, there wasn't a science in humans. And in Alberta, it's very difficult to get a family doctor still. There's a large percentage of Albertans that don't have access to primary care, but there is a science and there's other alternative places to go get yourself sorted out. You don't have to suffer in silence waiting to, get a friend to do a favor to get you into their family doctor.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's a
You
lot
have
of
access.
places, right? Like, you know, um, we help with hormones, but like you said, like if we do these complete blood panels and we see that things are off, then if you don't have a primary care provider, we're happy to sort of provide a bridge until you can get somebody,
Mhm,
right? And I think
mhm.
that's important, right? Because, you know, making sure that you're healthy is key, and I think it's a struggle right now. There's not enough
Yeah,
family doctors across the country, you
yeah.
know, and I worry about that lack of access to a primary care
Mhm.
provider impacting the health outcomes of people.
Amen, girl. This is some kind of wonderful that you've helped me personally. And the goal with me sharing my personal story and being public about my results inside of our small community, that it just exposes women to the upside, the opportunity, the alternatives to explore further. It is such a great tool to have because, by the way, if my hormones didn't get all my other health indicators in line, it would have been like, hey, Lara, it's something else. And now you should go explore an internal medicine specialist or whatever else it is. It would have highlighted if there was something really wrong.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I've never felt better. It's been a long time that I felt this clear and happy and hopeful um, about my women's health journey. So thank you for doing this with us today and sharing your incredible insights. We will publish all of the research and the links to how to get in touch with Science and Humans to get care spread far and wide and replicate my incredible experience with you.
Well, I wanna thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and chat with you, and thank you for your advocacy, right? And being a role model and showing women, "Wait a second, there's no need to suffer." And I think you using your platform to help the betterment of women is really, really commendable, so I wanna thank you for doing that.
It takes a village, doesn't it? Well, thank you so much. Great to see you again.
Great seeing you too.